Hey guys, you're welcome back to our lessons on data structures in Python. Previously, we learned that there are four basic data structures in Python, and these include the list, tuples, dictionaries, and sets. So far, we've dealt with lists and tuples. Today, we want to focus on dictionaries in Python. But before that, let's remind ourselves of the basic terms you need to know when it comes to data structures and data types in Python. Mutability and ordering. Before you deal with any data type or data structure in Python, get to know whether it is mutable or immutable. When we say a data structure or a data type is mutable, it means that once it is created, you can still make changes to it. That is, you can add more to it or take data from it. When we say it is immutable, it means that once it's been created, you cannot change it. You can't add, you can't deduct. That's immutability. And lastly, when we say a data structure is ordered or data type is ordered, it means that it is arranged in such a way that you can return its elements or index its elements one after the other. So these are the three basic things you need to know concerning any data type or data structure you deal with in Python. Great. Having mentioned these things, let's focus on our lesson for today. Our lesson for today is dictionaries. It's focusing on dictionaries. So what are dictionaries, or what is a dictionary as a data structure in Python? When we talk of a dictionary as a data structure in Python, it is basically a mutable data structure that allows mapping of unique keys to values. That is to say that a dictionary in Python is a way of arranging data in such a manner that a key is mapped to a value, right? A key is mapped to a value. Dictionaries can be created using the curly brackets or the dict function. That's it. Though dictionaries are mutable, whatever is being used as a key is supposed to be immutable, right? I know this looks theoretical. Don't worry, I will demonstrate that by showing you examples. Okay, so dictionaries can have keys of any immutable type, like integers or tuples, and not just strings. Okay, it's also not compulsory for every key to have the same data type, right? So a key can map to a different data type or even the data structure, and it will still work in dictionaries. Good. Like a list, like we learned with a list and tuples, you can index the elements, right? In dictionaries too, you can do that. You can return the elements one after the other, but it's quite different from that of a tuple or a list. To do that, or to do this in dictionary, you need to combine the keys and then the square bracket, which I will demonstrate very soon. That there is another method or an important method in dictionaries that will help us achieve the same thing, and that's the get method, right? So you can also return elements in a dictionary using the get method. The get method looks up for values in the dictionary, but unlike the square brackets, if the value is not found or the key is not found in the dictionary, it wouldn't return an error, but rather it will return a specified default value, or at least none. Okay, so this helps us avoid crashing our script when we index outside a dictionary, right? Enough of the theories. I know this looks a little bit theoretical. Let's get to the demonstration or the examples for you to understand it better. Now let's have our first example. I have students, namely John, Aaron, and Jasmine. They did an exam and they have different scores. So John had 80, Aaron had 79, and Jasmine had 90. So putting this in the dictionary, you will see that I will use the name as the key. This is what you call the key. Then you bring a colon, then the value, right? After whatever comes after the colon refers to as the value. Whatever comes before the colon is referred to as the key. And we are saying that whatever you're using as your key, it must be something that is immutable. So here you realize that this is a string. Strings are immutable. That's why we are using we've put the John in a string, right? Meaning that it's immutable. And then the value comes, right? So this is just a simple example. So if I run this and I ask Python what type of data structure is this, Python will tell me that this is a dict, right? Or dictionary. Good. And when you run or call this variable, you will see the data being displayed here. We can also have it in a different way. So for instance, we have countries data. Now, we are not just going to map a value to a key, but we're going to map a whole data structure to a key. So we can have country here. You see this country. Then we have the different country names in a list form, right? So country, and Ghana, USA, Germany, Japan, India, Nigeria, Togo, and the capitals. So the capital too is a key, and then we can have the capitals being named here. But if you take a critical look at what you're seeing here, you realize that the countries were kept in a list, but the capitals are kept in what? A tuple. This is to demonstrate to you that when you're creating a dictionary, the values can be of different data structures or different data types, and it will still work. So if I run this, good, and I come here, you will see that everything is being displayed here, right? But the difference is clear because the capitals were stored in dictionary. You could see that the display is quite different, right? But this is just an example to demonstrate to you that the keys can contain different data structures or data types, and it is good to go, right? As far as dictionaries are concerned. Now let's move to the next stage of dictionaries, which we call indexing, right? So we're using our first example, which is the student scores. Let's try to demonstrate how to index the values there. But before that, maybe you didn't create the dictionary, or perhaps the dictionary is too big that you can't even recall the keys. You want to know what are the keys in the dictionary. You just use the keys method. So the variable dot keys, right, or the dictionary variable dot keys, it will return to you all the keys that are in that particular dictionary, as you can see here. So you have John, Aaron, and Jasmine. The same way, if you want to return only the values, you can also say students underscore score dot values. That's the variable dot values. It returns to you all the values in there, right? Good. What about you want to get the score for a particular student? For instance, John, I want to bring John value. This is where the indexing comes in, all right? So you use the square bracket together with the key. So I want John, so I'll bring my square bracket here, and I'll pass the key to it. And when I run this is the value of John. The same way for Daniel. But if you check from what we are seeing here, you realize that there is no key like Daniel. So if you are asking for a value for a particular key that is not in a dictionary, what do you expect? An error will be returned, right? And that's it. So meaning that if this particular code that you are seeing is to be run as a script, something will happen. It will get crashed at this point, right? Because I'm basically asking for something that is not within the dictionary range, and because of that, I'm going to get an error, and my whole script will crash. It wouldn't continue running anymore. So how do I rectify that? That is where the get methods comes in. So since the error will break your script, you can decide to use the get method, so that if what you are looking for is not in the dictionary, it will just return to you none and allows you to continue, right? So let me run this. And John, I'm using the get method, get John for me, get the value of John for me, and you see 80. Now I'm going to do the same thing for Daniel. And when I run it, you realize that instead of returning the error that we saw here earlier on, is rather returning to me none, meaning that Daniel is not a key in that particular dictionary or in the student's dictionary. And if you want to maybe give further information, instead of just returning none, we want to say that if I'm looking for Daniel and Daniel is not part of the keys, it should just tell me not available, something like that. That's quite better than just none, okay? Because I can easily go over without knowing that Daniel is not in there because of the word none. So now I rather want to get a better message. To do that, you use the same get method, then you specify the message you want to get in case whatever you're looking for is not in the key, right? So Daniel is not in the key. So what should it return? It should rather return to me not available. All right. So that is basic indexing with dictionaries. Now let's move to the updating a dictionary. Okay. If you want to update a dictionary, how do you go about it? Remember, we said dictionaries are mutable, meaning that you can add to a dictionary once it's being created, or you can also remove data from it. So let's see an example here. We have a dictionary called D, which contains A, B, C as keys, and 100, 200, and 100 again as values. As you can see over here, we want to get the value of C. That's quite simple. Here we are, it's 100. We want to take a look at the keys again. We can see the keys here. The same way we want to do for the values. Okay. If you also want to check whether a particular key is in the keys, you can just use the how do you call the membership operator in. Okay, so I'm searching for D in D dot keys. You realize that I'll get false, meaning it's not in there. Now that I know that D is not part of the keys and I want to add it as a key to my dictionary, what do I do? The same square bracket, right? And you pass in the D and equate the value that you want to assign to D, and that is it. So you have it here. So now when I call the dictionary D, you will see that the capital D, which is a key, has now been added to the keys, right? The previous keys, and its value is 300. Okay. What about if I want to change it? For instance, I have A, which is 100, and I want to change A to 200, right? The same way, like the way I'm indexing the A, then I'll just assign the new value to it. So D, then square bracket A, equal to 200. Now when I call 200, it's been updated. When I call the dictionary D, the A has been updated from 100 to 200. So this is how we update a dictionary, right? You either add to it or you just change the previous values. Now there are other important related dictionary methods that I want you to also pay attention to, right? Maybe you want to insert a key with a value of default. So if key is not in the dictionary, you want a particular value to be retained, right? Then you can set a default, right? Good. So let's see, D.set default, then I'm passing W as a key and then the value 0. Now when I call D, you realize that the default value is what? 0 for W. Okay, so if I want to update it, I can maybe make changes to it. Okay, so now let's do same thing for the Z here. When I call the Z, because I didn't specify what should be used as the default value of the Z or Z, you realize that Python is basically giving a default as none. Okay, so sometimes you don't know the value of a particular key, so just want to give a default value so that later you change it. This is how you can do it. All right, so we have another method called from keys. Okay, so we have, let's say, a list here, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. When I said dict from keys A and then 0, you realize that it will use the elements here, right? What I'm seeing here as my keys and try to give them a default of 0. This is not common, it's not commonly used, but it's good to know that there's a way of creating a dictionary with giving keys and then default values, as you can see here. And you can do that using the from keys, right? So maybe let me run this for you. Okay. All right, great. And then update. We have another method called update. If you don't want to do use the square brackets and the keys to update your values, you can just use the update method. So d.update, I want to change my A to what? 40. Please take note of how this is being done. You realize that I'm using the dictionary here anyway, right? So when I run this and then I call D, now A is being updated from the 200 to 40. So you can use the update method to change the value of a particular key, or you can decide to just use the square brackets. Anyway, it's up to you, right? Now, if I also want to add a new one, I can also use the update method, right? All that you need to know is say update the dictionary dot update, and then specify the key and the value, and that will be updated. So you could see here that the D has been updated, right? Good. Okay, the last method I want to mention, which is very, very crucial, is what we call the dot items, or the items method. It changes the keys and values to a dictionary of a dictionary to a list of tuples. Okay, so if you have, let's say, D, let me just call D for you to see what will be displayed here. I have the dictionary called D. When I run it, you see A is 40, B is 200, and so on. Now, I may want to just make all the values and the elements, I want to turn it to a tuple, right? Being contained in a list. There's a reason for that. Later, you will get to know why we do this. Basically, for iteration, easy iteration. Okay, so A 40 will be turned to a tuple, B and 200 will be turned to a tuple, like that. So you start grouping them, a key and its value, a key and its value, in a tuple, and it puts all of them into a list. This will allow me to now, if I want to loop through the elements, I can easily do that because it's a list now, right? And we will later see the application in other lessons. When you look for the type after running the item methods on a dictionary, if you check for the type, it's no more a dictionary, but it's a dict items. Great. So that's it for dictionaries. It's very, very important to understand how to manipulate dictionaries because it's commonly used as a data structure in Python, and you see it a lot in your analysis, in data storage, and other kind of things that you will do in Python, right? So I recommend you get access to this particular notebook from Classic Data Lab GitHub repository. I will put the link in the video description below. Do well to get it for free. I mean, just download it, play with it, make changes to it, and then learn as much as you can. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you in our next lesson where we'll focus on sets and we'll be done with data structures in Python. Bye for now and happy learning. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Love you.